Francesco, ciao.
Ciao, Julian. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome. Well, Francesco, thanks again for coming on to talk to us about, I haven't really announced this yet, but I'm looking forward to talk to you about some amazing Italian rickshaw adventures. Maybe you could start off by just kind of a quick background about what you do, and then we can take it from there, really.
Yeah, sure. Well, what I do, well, first of all, I live in Italy now. I'm in Milan, although I was born in Florence. For living, I basically deal with innovation in general and in startups in particular. And we are here because quite a few years ago, after we sold the startup to TripAdvisor, and now in Italy it's called The Fork. It's quite famous to book restaurants or something. We decided to bring the rickshaw adventure to Italy because I'm not so young anymore, and I had this other friend of mine, is my age and has five sons. And his brother just came back from doing the rickshaw adventure in India, and he was super excited. We were like sharing his enthusiasm for doing something so crazy and so fun with the Ape Calesino, which is the Italian version of the tuk-tuk from the rickshaw. And as they say, if you can't go there, the only way to do it is to bring it here. So what we did, since we couldn't go for a month around India, risking our life, we decided to do something a little more educated, I would say. But most of all, something not as risky as the Indian adventure. And so we bought 10 Ape Calesino, and we decided to organize the first adventure, which was going from Milano to Catania. And for people that don't know, Italy is basically going from the north to the south, the island of Sicily, okay, which is a fairly long trip because if you go straight, it's like 1,900 kilometers, and if you go the way we went, is 2,500 kilometers because it's like, oh, that is so cool. The problem is that we want to do a straight line, but we encountered so many cool things that we didn't even know about it, and we couldn't resist. So the kilometers kept increasing, and it took us like 9 days to complete the first tour, and it was super fun. It was an adventure because despite what people might think, some of the roads in Italy are not quite roads, so are destroyed. So you have to find alternative ways to get to places. Sometimes even finding gas in some areas is not so easy. And
I was going to bring up some of those like parallels between, well, certainly assumptions that myself had with driving rickshaws and tuk-tuks all across kind of India and Sri Lanka and stuff, and an assumption that those experiences that you would have on a rickshaw might be unique to those places. But having driven myself around Italy, realized very quickly that the same rickshaw quirkiness that you have with the vehicle itself is just transported to Italy exactly the same. and it's one of the most perfect, well, in my view, maybe a little bit biased, vehicles to travel around Italy in as well.
Well, the fun part, because if you don't see it this way, it would be a problem, is that these vehicles, especially at the beginning, had the tendency to have some little technical problem. So I don't know if Piaggio did it on purpose or not, but we had some problems here and there. But the funniest part is just generally these problems are the most memorable things of a trip, because they stick to your mind, because when you're with a lot of people, if there is an adversity, it really becomes some sort of team building experience. So you remain super friend with everybody that actually made it out of that challenge. And it's all challenges that are very controlled, because we have a special. No, I forgot to mention. We founded the GIRA, which is the Great Italian Rickshaw Adventure, which is like our company in Italy. And we had the special, of course, since in the time after the first 10, we bought other 10. At a certain point, we got to 21 vehicles, I think, the most we had. And we were one of the biggest clients of Piaggio for in the world, I think, so, as a single client. So we had a special relationship. If something went wrong, we would, call them up and have somebody on the territory to come over and fix the vehicles. And so at the end, everything was part of the adventure. In fact, it's not. We clearly say it's not an holiday. It's an adventure. Although it's in Italy, it's still an adventure, because things can happen. Okay.
Yeah. And just to give a little bit of context to the listeners right now who might be just listening to this, this is a perfect opportunity for me to say, almost as an unofficial announcement, because we haven't really made a full announcement. People know that we ran a trip last year. We ran 2 trips in Italy with rickshaws. It was still in the middle of the pandemic, so didn't get much exposure. A lot of people that really wanted to come, especially from like the southern hemisphere, Australasia, where we had a lot of our existing clients and friends, weren't able to make it because it was completely locked down. But large minority has, on the back of that, gone in partnership with the GIRA and taken a majority partnership over the GIRA, which is like probably one of our most exciting and best things to come of the worst experience of travel in the last 18 months, because we haven't run a trip for so long. And in fact, the last trip we did run happened to be in Italy, because we were able to get there.
And probably the next one as well, because
probably the next one,
the way
too.
COVID is going, we are one of the few countries where you can travel safely now. So it's I'm super excited for the deal that we closed, because to be part of large minority, first of all, we did this for fun, and for me to be part of somebody that organizes also even bigger adventure is super cool. So I'm looking forward also to experience the other trips. And I know for Italy, I'm super happy, because when we did this, we founded the GIRA also to share the beauty and the experience with everybody, okay? Because it's such a great experience. To me, it was one of the most enlightening and fantastic trips of my life. Especially the first one of 9 days, because for who already went on a trip on a tuk-tuk is obvious, but for the others it's not obvious. Just the tuk-tuk, it's such a vehicle of social. It's a social vehicle, because everybody looks at it, especially in Italy, where it's not so common like in other countries. When you pass by with the Ape Calesino, our tuk-tuk, everybody's looking at it. Everybody wants to talk to you, especially if they see that it's like stickers or it's all customized. Everybody thinks you are like a star of the television. They all want to talk to you. kids want to jump on it and do a little tour. Same thing for old people become kids again, and they want to jump and have a little tour as well. They only, you become friends of everybody. We had like people getting invited to stay at houses, invited for lunch, dinner, offer food. It's something unbelievable, because the joy that you bring to people is incredible. And most of all, you bring it to places where no one goes, because the other reason we founded the GIRA is because we noticed that in Italy there was a tendency of people to go all in the same places. So you go in the summer, there's place like with 1 million people, you can even find a grain of sand to sit on, and 10 kilometers inside, maybe there is a super beautiful little town, completely empty, deserted, okay, which is crazy. So we said, we need to bring back people to these super fantastic places so they can enjoy, share it with the world, and bring back life into these little towns. Because I'm sure if people knew the beauty and the possible lifestyle of these places, we would have a ton of people coming in. Because and COVID, I think, it was a good push for people to rediscover the life in a different way, in going back to the smaller places that are super beautiful in the countryside. And Italy also has such a diversity that one trip is worth 100 trips, because really in 9 days we were in 30 different countries. Okay, completely different food, completely different habits, completely different settings. The architecture completely different. You go from the seaside to the mountains to the lakes, all in one trip. It's unbelievable. It just gives me shiver just to talk about it. I would jump on it again.
No, I mean, for the people listening, I mean, I had a massive smile on my face for the first few minutes of you explaining that, because so many of the things that you said there are exactly the same, like those feelings and those emotions that you get when you're like a lot of people who might be listening to this, who have been on our trips before, will have had exactly the same, those emotions feeling while they've gone into the middle of Sri Lanka or the middle of Kerala or the middle of Cambodia or whatever. And it was, I think even at the beginning for me, I was hesitant. I was thinking, if we go around Italy, will we get the same reaction with the tuk-tuk in Italy? Will it be the same? And I mean, having done it myself, yes, absolutely. And just for how you've just explained it is exactly what it's like. The reaction from the local population, the assistance that you get if you break down, and then just the accessibility that it gives you when you're in the middle of this small town in the middle of in the middle of nowhere.
So I shouldn't say this, but also with the police, I know people will let us get inside everywhere. Okay, we got there. Some tuk-tuks got inside the Italian government palace. I don't know how they got in, but they actually made it. I was in Pietrasanta, right in the Duomo. We pushed it. Okay, we pushed the cart in the closed road, and nobody said anything. So we got with the cart in front of the church. We were in Civitanova di Bagnoregio. Is like this incredible little town that is built on a piece of rock, and all around is a valley, like a super steep valley, and we were like almost inside the little town. I mean, it's incredible. Just people think you are some different entity moving around the place.
And what was your what would you say? I mean, you've already said a lot of the highlights, but if you were to talk just almost like a quick, I guess the highlights of driving, of the interaction with some of the people that you visit, the towns that you visit along the way. I think you probably summarized it quite well already, but I guess I'm trying to capture how really different it is from if you're just visiting as a normal tourist, or if you're just visiting you know?
It's completely different because I've traveled a lot around Italy, even renting a car. Before before the tuk-tuk, when we didn't have the GIRA, I still enjoyed traveling around. I traveled around, renting a car in Sicily, in Puglia, in Sardinia. I rented boats everywhere. I traveled everywhere, and first of all, with the tuk-tuk, you can't go on a highway. Okay, so you never go to a destination. There's never a destination. Okay, there's always a trip. Okay, because you can't go on a fast way to get the place. You have to pass through little streets. Okay, and passing through little streets, you encounter a ton of things. You see a lot of little towns, little parts that you never find. Okay, I discovered things I completely never even imagined they exist. Okay, it's like, if you go to Firenze to the Uffizi Museum, the paintings you see, they're like a tenth of the paintings they have. Okay, because they don't have space to show it. And going on a tour like this is the same. You get access to the remaining 90% of the paintings. Okay, because you're forced to go. It's like they said, okay, if you want to go to the main area of the museum, you have to pass by the underground galleries, and suddenly you get to see 90% of the paintings that no one is gonna see. Okay, and really, we discover places. There's a little town on the Adriatic coast that is it's like little Venice, and his main theme is the eel. Okay, so they cook eels in every possible manner, and it's super good. I never ate it before, and I ate it in every possible way, and it was super good. And then you go down, and we discovered the last fortress of the Pope Kingdom after Ascoli, which is an unbelievable place, but it's not well known. Okay, but there is this incredible, massive fortress, and that is also one of the best restaurants in Italy, by the way. And by chance, we are passing by. We say, "Oh, what's that?" Cool. So there were a couple of people eating in their garden. We say, "What's that?" "Oh, that's the last fortress of the Pope Kingdom."
So just the fact that just the access that you get from traveling the slow road, basically traveling the long road.
Yes, it's a slow road, and the thing is that Italy has so many things in it that it's a quite simple treasure hunt. Okay, I've done it with I told you with Alberto, also from Madrid to Saragossa, and I mean, it's beautiful, but in the middle we find one town. Okay, it's like 800 kilometers. There's nothing. Okay, beautiful, but there is nothing. Italy has been so built during the centuries by different culture, different kingdoms coming over from we had the French owners, we had the Austrian, we had the Spanish, we had part was under the Arabic country. So we have a ton of different influences, ton of different political revolutions. So, and everyone was building their own little thing. So everywhere you go, you find little parts that have been left there, and then people moved from the small town to the bigger town, and they're still there. So and they're not even regulated. If you go to most of the other countries, everything has a ticket, an entry ticket. Okay, in Italy, 70% of the fantastic things of our cultural heritage has no ticket. You can just get in there. It's not even regulated. Okay. Up north here, there is Linea Cadorna, where there is the old fortification of World War I with all the underground galleries. You can just walk there. And it's this whole massive hill with all the fortifications. They're still there, and it just left there. Okay, so you just walk into it. Anywhere else would be, completely guarded and like 30 euros to visit. Okay,
to go in, yeah.
And here you just go there, and like, you just talk about like all the fantastic churches or up and down there, or crazy little castles, ton of little castles, all that you can discover. It's
so when
infinite. You never finish discovering new things. That's the thing. You can come here
they'll never
2,000 times, and there's still gonna be a new something that you just pass by there and you never noticed before.
And when you were traveling and driving the rickshaws, did you plan each day, or did you just, and also how many kilometers roughly were you doing each day? Did you plan it, or had you just decided you have a place to stay that next night and then you just went for it?
I did several trips, of course, okay, and for different occasions. The first one was the real first one was a trial from Milano to the closest sea, and we just went and booked on the way.
Yeah.
The second trip, which was the first big one and official, we had places already booked before, but we realized it wasn't so convenient, because you never know how many, especially if you're doing a very long trip. Some days you just want to do maybe a longer stretch. Other days you find something super beautiful, so you stay. Just statistically, the time is going to be the same, but the amount of kilometers per day might change a lot. So if you already booked places, it might create an obstacle to your flexibility. Okay. On the other hand, especially, it depends also on the season. If you go in May, June, beginning of July, no problem. Okay. If you go in August and you then book hotel, you might find yourself spending all day just looking for a hotel. Okay, nowadays, thank God, we have some apps that help you find places, but maybe not so easy, especially if you're passing by the seaside. If you go inside, in the countryside, generally it's not a problem. So, and there's people actually doing it also as a way to go some places. Maybe you want to have a week of vacation in Sicily, okay? And traveling to Sicily maybe is very expensive in the summer. So some people just fly to Milano or to Sorrento, like where we depart in general, and they do a trip and they take the tuk-tuk to Sicily. So they have several days of trip on the tuk-tuk. They get there, and the price of the airplane has been compensated, is the same price they spent to go on the tuk-tuk, but they had an extra vacation, so it works very well. Some people, maybe they don't want to spend much and they want more adventure. They bring a tent. Like people sleeping on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Okay. In some areas, maybe it's better if you get information before, because maybe you're not allowed in some areas to do that. But in some others, it's so secluded that there's no one passing by. So if you want, you can do that. It's not a problem. And but flexibility, is the best part of it.
And I mean, just to be kind of clear, we have obviously our grand plans is to run two types of adventures for two types of basically people that want to plan it and not want to plan it. So we're going to run it where we have a pre-planned and pre-booked, like hand-picked, really nice accommodation. So that's already pre-booked. And then the second option is to say, here's the tuk-tuk. We'll give you the platform. We'll give you some contacts for support for, just in case emergency. But the rest is just adventure and
and I have to add two things. One is, as you said, I did also bachelor party with some friends, and that was all organized, and that was perfect because we selected the perfect hotels with a swimming pool, 4 to 5 stars, because everybody was decently well off, and we didn't have to do so many kilometers. the first trip was we were averaging 250 kilometers per day.
Yeah.
On the bachelor party, we were like 70 per day. Okay, so you spend like it's more the fun of doing it than the adventure. It's less of an adventure, it's more of a trip. Okay.
Yeah.
And the both work fantastic because you still have fun, but it's a little different spirit. Okay. So, and but the great thing is that if you ask before, we can arrange everything. So you can choose which kind of trip you want, as you said.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing, I just lost it, of course.
Well, no, I was just going to say the next. I was going to maybe put you on the spot a little bit because I know that you had said to me before about like maybe a little bit of the history of the Ape Calesino and stuff. But from my understanding, actually, some of the first three-wheeled vehicles in the world were from Italy, from Piaggio. They made them initially.
Yes, in the 50s, it's like the first three-wheeler is probably from Piaggio. They actually, I think, made one for the war with a cannon as well. They also made a Vespa with a cannon. People don't know that, but it's crazy what they did with this vehicle. And then they moved production to India. So now they're all made in India and then assembled in Italy as Ape Calesino, which is a more luxury version of the tuk-tuk, basically. Okay,
and they were used initially, as far as I'm aware, just because of the medieval kind of small towns up in the hills and stuff. Were too small really to access the
yes.
The
there's quite a bit of towns that have very narrow roads, and the narrow roads is because for fortification. So if the enemies would come, they wouldn't pass in more than a few people. And plus, people would throw, boiling oil or other stuff on the heads from the houses. So they kept the roads quite narrow. Plus, many of them are built on very small hills. So the Ape will fit very well, and still it's actually very it's used a lot more on the commercial kind of vehicles. Okay, so the three-wheeler to carry
pickup,
a lot of farmers still use it as a pickup because you can't arrive with a Ford 5000 cc's and then you get stuck in the city. You can't use
it. But I think
we need something a little smaller.
Yeah, but I also think that really adds to what you were saying about the access when you get into the really remote and rural areas, because obviously some of these streets are tiny, so the access that you get just because you're in a tuk-tuk or you're in you can really get through the middle of these towns where you wouldn't normally be able to do that.
Yeah, you can even go off-road, maybe without exaggeration, but I was on some seriously, country roads, and the vehicle still goes well. It's very simple to operate. But it has a different thing. Okay, it just brings you back to the Italian 50s. Okay, that's also the beauty of the Ape Calesino that other vehicles can give you. Especially for people like me, I was born in the 70s. Okay, when the first little scooter came out, and the first Vespa, the Ape is like a Vespa. Okay, so it brings you back to for me to when I was a teenager, and I was driving maybe a little Vespa, and it's the same thing because it's still the same. It's still the same vehicle, basically. Okay. So you're brought back in time when things were simpler and easier. You don't have to wear an helmet. At the beginning of times, the first scooter, you didn't have to wear a helmet. You were going out, and it was super dangerous. People would kill themselves all the time. but it was a different dimension of simplicity, which is also beautiful. Now that we have in a world super technological. And actually, this brought me back to memory what I wanted to say. In fact, we do have technology because on our tuk-tuks, there is a GPS that tracks where you are. So all your other friends can follow your trip, and you can know where the other people that started the trip with you are. So if you get lost, you can just go on the website and you can find them. Okay, I know there is if you don't have, of course, so now we have also smartphone that can locate friends, but still this helps in especially if you're departing with other people you don't know so well, you don't have the numbers or everything, you can still reconnect and have a social trip. That's another beauty. Okay, so you might have like a few days where you want to stay alone, other days where you want to be together. You always have a chance to reconnect, which is important, I think, in this kind of trips.
Yeah, and yeah, I 100% agree with you. If I was to put you on a spot just to kind of finish up with a few like maybe directly Italian related, well, not Italian, but your trip preferences. So maybe on the spot, like, do you prefer driving? Do you prefer traveling with 2 or 3 people in the vehicle?
In 3 people total, yes. Yeah, I like it more. It's more fun. Yeah, it's more social. Yes. Otherwise, you feel like a taxi driver. In 3 is not.
Yeah, fair enough.
In 3, I mean, you can do it. It depends on who you go with, because I've had, at the time we always said like we had famous people traveling with us. We had Instagrammers, we had bloggers. And some people actually would travel with their own son or daughter, okay, maybe father and daughter, and it's a fantastic trip because it really gives you one of the best memories for your kids. Unbelievable. Yeah. People travel with their dog, okay. People went on honeymoon, so in that case, it's better too, because of course it doesn't fit. So it's a unbelievable vacation, adventure for everybody. It really depends on how you want to start it. Yeah, if you do the big group, then it's going to be 3 people per vehicle generally, because it's more social. But the fun part is then you can exchange people. When we now bigger trip where we are like 9 vehicles all together, we change people all the time, because some people say, oh, there is a seaside, I want to go to swim, and they went to the seaside. The others at the same time wanted to see maybe the farmland, okay, or somebody wanted to see the little church with the small museum of the little town the same day, because everything is there, okay. And some people will change, say, okay, I'll go with you, and then at night we will meet at the same place, and the next day we will redistribute the people based on what they wanted to see, because unfortunately the main problem is choosing what to do. And we lost Julian, so well, why is not there? Okay, we are back. Julian, we lost it for a second, but
yeah, sorry about that.
It's Australia to Italy, is a long way. So
it's a long way, and I have to say, to put it on record, that we have. Well, I've had some of the worst internet I've ever had in the world, and I've been to a lot of places. I think most Australians might blame it on my provider, but it's been really bad.
Yeah, but these things still make me think. Nowadays everything seems so easy, but to me, being able to talk with an English guy in Australia about our common trips, like if it was normal, it's not normal, because
I do agree. We
30
take it for
years
granted.
ago when I was born, it's like, I know people say, oh, the old guy, but before we couldn't have something like this. To me, it's still amazing. I love it, and I think this connection with
we need more people like you in the world, Francesco. More positive and optimistic people who just like see life with glass half full rather than empty.
Yeah, but that's a good thing of large minority and the GIRA, is that they attract this kind of people. Okay, so there's a very positive thing, because it really is a magnet for people that are curious and social and international, open-minded, and that's why I love it. And you know how much I care to join forces to keep alive the GIRA despite the recent pandemic, because
well,
it's
I mean,
such a
we
positive
are
thing.
so excited to get off the ground next year in Italy. I mean, we tried again this year, and just to be able to get back on the road, and then obviously speaking to you a lot, and really planning some trips for next year. It's very exciting. We can't wait.
Well, I'll be one of the first to book one in the wine region this year, because
I was going to say, like, to
I
finish
haven't
off,
done it properly yet. So
it sounds like a ridiculous question because of what you've told me already, and all the places that you've been in Italy with the tuk-tuks. Obviously, you're from there. But I don't know, if you could pick a couple of highlights, like if I had to say, right, you've got, well, let's make it easier and say, okay, from Milan, like,
around Milan. Around Milan, of course, there are the lakes, because there's a Lake Como, which is one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. George Clooney has a house. They even had like the one of the main scenes of Star Wars in Lake Como, where there is a sky. That's like one of the most beautiful love scenes in Star Wars. And of course, the Alps all over, because as you can see, I'm a snowboard lover. So there is some fantastic scenery, or even at the Mottarone, which unfortunately recently we had this tragedy with the gondola, but you can get there even without the gondola. On top of that, you can see 3 lakes from one single on top of a little hill, and there are like the view of 3 lakes and the Alps all around, which is one of the most beautiful sceneries in the world. And of course, there is a ton of little towns, borg and castle, so there's plenty to do. Of course, I'm from Tuscany, so I'm a little biased for my own region, where you have like Florence, Siena, Lucca, Pistoia. Every city is fantastic. So it's really
we'll
hard.
Go with that. We'll go with North. We'll go with the Northern Alps, and then Tuscany, which seems like a very, very reasonable answer.
Also, the trip from Milan to the seaside close to Genova, because if you go straight, like by car in 1 hour and a half, you can get to the seaside from Milan. Okay, and that area also, if you don't pass through the highway, which is where we did the first trip ever, is also really rural, and there is places like Bobbio, or we found a castle there that was really fun, because it was only the front of the castle, because the rest was collapsed. The owners didn't have money to restore it, so they only restored the front. But it still had like a few rooms where you could go stay as a bed and breakfast, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and it's still a fantastic memory. And so
I mean, I have to say, the trip that we did last year, where we went from Milan up to Lake Como, Lake Maggiore, and then down through down towards the coast, and then back via Genoa was amazing for me. I was really surprised. I hadn't visited it before, and it was an amazing historical town, city rather. It was way better than I had expected for some reason. And then on the way back to Milan, like through Bobbio, where you were saying,
Genova was one of the 4 sea republics, which for a while were the owners of the world.
Of the world,
And I was like Venice, Pisa, Genova, and Amalfi, I think, yes, because Naples wasn't quite strong. and these 4 little towns, were like the richest and all, and they were controlling all the global transaction basically at a certain point. So they still, of course, they still incorporate all the construction that were made in the period, and are fantastic. Genoa is still a very nice city. And then there is, down there, there's a Cinque Terre, which is made of these little towns right on the sea that you can visit. I mean, we could go again forever just to tell all the beauties. But that's the fun part, because if you want, you can have a completely different trips in the same country. And I still have, for example, on my agenda to do a tour inside Sicily in the middle, because the coast I've already done it on one side, on the other, and going maybe from just through the whole Sicily is a fantastic experience. And not many people, but many of the most famous Western movies with cowboys and Indians were actually filmed in the middle of Sicily.
Oh, really?
Not in the US. They were actually made in the middle of Sicily, because we had some of the most famous, directors of Western movies that are Italians. So it's quite funny. And really, there is like also all the southern part of Basilicata. There are a lot of little towns, because even in the south there are really high mountains. People actually, in the last year we had more snow in the south than in the north, which is another thing that most people don't know around the world. Okay, and there's all these little towns built like on these mountains that you can visit. Still plenty to see. I've done so many trips, and I still have so many things to see. It's incredible.
Well, hopefully we can put together a nice big couple of weeks next year where we can all do it together and really.
Yeah, no, for sure. I already told you. At least you'll have to come on at least a small tour of the wine country, because we didn't mention that, but that's very important. Like a few hours from Milano, you can get to Oltrepò Pavese, to the Langhe, which is one of the Langhe region is incredible, because it's a little upscale, because restaurants have minimum 4 stars. It's like not everyone, of course, I'm exaggerating, but there's so many like 4 5-star restaurants. It's incredible. Okay, and the food is amazing, and they make the famous Barolo, Barbera, Barbaresco, Nebbiolo. It's like a whole variety of super good wines, and it's really easy to get to. The hills are like Tuscany, so I feel like familiar there, and so it's very nice. Everything is kept like perfectly. There are like little castle here and there, and you can just go and try all the wines. It's really easy, super safe. So especially even if you have like a weekend, you want to come over, super easy. You come here, you take your little app, and you can drive through the vineyards. You stop, have a drink. Maybe who drives don't drink, of course. Maybe, but you can stay there for the night. So even at night you can drink.
I was going to talk about the food, but then I just decided that if we had started the conversation with you and me about the food in Italy, I just wouldn't have been. This would have just been a 35-40 minute conversation about the food, because I mean, it is. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that Italy is the food capital of the world, and in my opinion, the best. Obviously, that's up for debate. I'm sure the French will have a conversation.
Yeah, but the variety is more about the variety. Okay, because French, again, some of the best cook in the world are French, and I love French as well. We love Europe. We are all Europeans, so everywhere. We used to have the GIRA in France as well, so we organize also the trips in France. The only problem of France is a vast area in the center that is not so compelling as Italy is. Okay, and in terms of food, also variety is not as diverse because they didn't have so many population coming all the time. So we have so many influences and contaminations that it is different styles, and there is the sea, the mountains. So you can eat from plates. You go to the Alps, you eat like if you were in Austria and Germany. If you go south, of course, on the coast, it's more seafood, of course. Every town has its own little specialty. There's the area of mushrooms, there's the area of the hill, there's the area of make a different kind of pasta everywhere. Of course, pasta is everywhere. But you start going south, also is fantastic. I remember in Tropea, which is one of these diamonds on the coast. There's a little town. It's a fantastic beach. And there they grow this cipolla di Tropea, is this particular onion that is super good. And they make, of course, they have some of the best tuna in the world around there. And, unfortunately, most of it, they sold it to Japan because they pay more for it. But they make the stew of tuna and onion of Tropea, which is something to die for. Okay, and I tried to make it home, but it just doesn't come.
You're making me very, very hungry.
You have to go and eat it there because you're eating it. First of all, it's fantastic. Then you're in this little town, completely that has 1,000-year-old in the little town with the people smiling. And it's warm because in the south, of course, the weather is much better in most of Europe, and it's fabulous. I mean, also weather, you have to keep in mind. Last weekend, my father have a little apartment in Isola d'Elba, which is a little island off the coast of Tuscany. My father had to go there because we were doing some works to the house. There's people swimming, okay, because it's in October there and still swim. Yeah, end of October, and they're still swimming. And I actually was swimming myself 3 weeks ago in Tuscany in the Versilia coast, okay, where I surf also. So, and even that you can get through. We were saying if you organize a tour from Milano to Tuscany, that's the beauty. There you can go to the seaside in the morning, and in the afternoon you can go. There is the Apuane Alps, okay, which are famous for marble. Half the marble of the world comes from those mountains. They look like there's snow, but it's marble actually on top of it. So you can do, seaside and then go walk in the middle of marble caves in the afternoon. If you want to eat the tordelli, which is special pasta filled with meat and other stuff with the meat sauce, you go eat them. Then you eat, they have this specialty called the lardo di Colonnata. There's a little town that sells only this kind of fat that is stored in marble, so it becomes super soft. So you can just cut it and almost spread it. It's so good that the whole town is selling only that thing. Okay, it's like there's all these little stores with old ladies, average age 75. Okay, the youngest is probably 75-year-old, and they all have little shops selling this lardo di Colonnata. This is an example, okay, of the little things that you can find and that no one knows. I challenge anyone listening to us now, tell me what lardo di Colonnata is.
Yeah. Well, I think you've achieved exactly what I wanted to do by just having this conversation, Francesco. Basically, I know that I can point anybody now to this conversation with full confidence to say you will be persuaded to get on an up air, get on a tuk-tuk in Italy if you listen to this conversation. So I really appreciate that.
But see, the problem of the long trips is then convincing you to get off the tuk-tuk, because I swear, in the longer trips, after a while, you get used to this kind of lifestyle and relation with your crazy vehicle, that to get off is a problem. We called it, we got land sick, because we're like, I can't believe I'm not on it anymore. Okay,
it is a serious problem. Every single trip that we have in every country, that relationship with the tuk-tuk, with your vehicle, the fact that you've been driving it every day. Sometimes, on the long trips, you do it for 6-7 hours a day. You just have this, you have a...
Yeah, but if you rent a Panda or like a Toyota, you're not there to say, oh my God, I'm leaving my Toyota.
No, you want to get out.
No, you're like, oh, it's finished, go home, I'm gonna go and play. It's something, I think, it's very hard, it's impossible. There's some magic in it that you can't explain.
Oh, that's very funny.
Anyway.
Brilliant. Well, on that note, Francesco, it was fantastic to speak to you. I really look forward to seeing you. I don't know, we could probably drive each other around Italy next year. I'll have to come see you in Tuscany. What a hard life. And really can't wait to see you in Italy. And thanks a lot for sharing your insights and knowledge with us.
Thank you. And then hopefully I will see you very soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Ciao, Julian.
Ciao.